Welcome to another edition of the Inspired Stories podcast, where leaders share their experiences so we can learn from their successes and be inspired by how they've overcome adversity. My name is Anthony Codis-Bodie, and today's guest is Kelly Wadding, who was president and owner at Quality Pork Processors, Inc. for 30 years and is presently serving as a senior advisor. Founded in 1989 in Austin, Minnesota, Quality Pork Processors is a leading food manufacturing company that processes 19,000 hogs each day. They employ over 1,300 dedicated team members and even offer free on-site primary care for employees and their families. Under Kelly's leadership, the company has maintained a strong position in meat processing, providing essential products across the country. Kelly has been instrumental in various leadership roles within the industry, showcasing his expertise in strategy and operations. And before joining Quality Pork Processors, he gained valuable experience influencing business growth at other meat processing firms. Since taking the helm, he has helped the company expand its operations and remain a key market player. His achievements include shaping effective policies and driving operational improvements. Together with his team, Kelly continues to uphold rigorous quality standards while creating a positive workplace environment. Now, before we get into all that good stuff, today's episode is brought to you by my company, Add Back Benefits Agency, where we offer very specific and unique employee benefits that are both great for your team and fiscally optimized for your bottom line. One recent client was able to add over $900 per employee per year in extra cash flow by implementing one of our innovative programs. Results vary for each company, and some organizations may not be eligible. To find out if your company qualifies, contact us today at addbackbenefitsagency.com. All right, now back to our guest today, Senior Advisor, former owner and president at Quality Pork Processors, Kelly Wadding. I appreciate you making the time to share your story today.
Oh, thank you. Happy to be with you.
Okay, Kelly, so you've been involved in the meat processing industry for quite some time. What initially drew you to this field?
Well, a job. I started when I was 18 years old. In fact, October 8th of 1970 is my original seniority date, and that was a company called Wilson's. Meatpacking is one of the, I think it was the third or fourth largest meatpacking in the country. And I started, as I said, 18 years old. I started in a gang. The first job I had was pushing hogs in a hog cooler. And there I stayed on the labor force for 2 years, and then I had an opportunity to be a supervisor with Wilson's. So I then took a supervisor's job. I was 20 years old, youngest supervisor Wilson's ever hired. They were a little concerned about hiring somebody that young, but I got the job.
So what were you doing at such a young age that they saw in you, hey, let's promote this guy as a 20-year-old kid?
Well, the quick story of it is actually I went when I was working as labor. There was an ad in our local paper for supervisors in Madison, Nebraska, and I went there to interview. Actually, I was interviewed by Bob Peterson, who ended up being the president of Iowa in Iowa Industries. Anyway. He told me that he would hire me as a gang leader, but I didn't have experience as supervisor. So I said, okay, thank you very much. And I went back and I mentioned it to my supervisor, and he went down there. He took the job. His boss come to me and said, I hear you're looking for a supervisor. And I said, yep. And I was a good worker. I worked a lot of overtime. I tried to do everything. So I had a pretty good record with the employer. So they hired me as a supervisor, and that's kind of started me on the road to management. So.
And what is a gang leader? I have a feeling that means something different to you than it does to the average citizen.
A gang leader is actually a lead man. You're still in the labor force. You still work on the line, but you're a utility guy. You can fill in for a lot of jobs. You have to learn all that, and so it's a step towards supervision. So, and Mr. Peterson said I would follow that, but I decided to stay with Wilson's. What worked out good. So,
how long did you stay at Wilson's altogether then?
Okay, well, the quick history there is I stayed as a supervisor for another 6 years, and then 6 years I was promoted to the division superintendent over the pork division over the superintendent down in Oklahoma City. And I transferred down there. I spent 2 miserable years down there. It was the management was very poorly run. The union dictated everything. I every morning I walked in and it was just like putting my boxing gloves on and going to town. But I stuck in there for 2 years, and then a lot of consequences with Wilson's. They offered to transfer me, but just one place, and so I turned my resignation in. I went to Iowa Pork Industries in South St. Paul, and there I went there as a plant superintendent, and there was it was a new startup plant by um, Harry Weinstein. But anyway, the plant was built on a shoestring budget, lots of breakdowns, and we had to replace our workforce. And the reason I'm saying that, I gained so much knowledge in the 5 and 6 years I was at that plant that I went through walkout strikes. I had several machine breakdowns. In fact, we were breaking down and having so much trouble in our maintenance areas. I actually took some engineer courses. I did get an associate degree down the road, by the way. But anyway, I took some engineering courses and learned refrigeration and things like that we're having so much trouble with. And that comes into play in just a little bit. But anyway, I spent 5-6 years there. They promoted me, or give me the plant manager job when I was 31. And I did that for about a year and a half. Then a strike took us down, and we were working. I mean, it was pretty tough. And the owner, he wanted to sell the company, and I kind of saw the writing on the wall. And so I made good friends in the industry. I go to the conferences every year, and so a guy told me if I ever wanted a job to just pick up the phone. And I called up Dale Dannon. He was a vice president with John Morrell Company in Sioux Falls. And Dale said, you start in 2 weeks. So so I went to John Morrell, Sioux Falls for 2 years as a commercial pork manager.
But before you get into that, Kelly, I want to hear. So I understand why you first took the job, right? You're a young kid. You're looking for work. You
Right.
need a paycheck. But you continued to stay in the industry for a number of years, and you moved around to different locations. There was something about this that drew you in and kept you there. What was it that you liked so much about this industry?
Well, I felt I was good at it. I got married young. I didn't have a college education. The meat packing industry back in the 1970 was the best paying job in Elberly, Minnesota. And so the money was good. Benefits were good. And then as I worked on the line, I looked around and watched these managers walk around and say, I don't want to be tied down the line. I want to try to advance. And so I took got the opportunity, and it just, in my career, I think based on a lot of luck, I took some chances at some other opportunities, and they all worked out fine. I had some great mentors throughout. I mean, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for 4 or 5 guys that mentored me and brought me along, like the Dale Dannon. I picked up the phone, called him. He took me to work, and so I've been blessed to have people in my life really, really help me.
Well, and it's nice to hear sort of the positive memories that you have of these experiences. But there were also challenging times, right? Like you were talking about miserable 2 years that you spent at the one plant. And
Yeah.
so certainly there were some times where you just kind of soldiered on and were like, man, this is a job. I got to do it. I got to make ends meet. But we learn from those experiences sometimes as much or more than we learned from, some of the positive role models and mentors that you had.
Exactly. The there were nights that I sat down and just didn't know what I was going to do to go on and stuff. But as I look back, they really built me and helped me deal with and when I got to QPP, I was ready for the challenges there, and it it really they made me stronger. I mean, it's just a corny old saying, but it really
Yeah, I mean,
definitely
you got
did.
some thicker skin by going through them, and you
Hmm.
learn how to work through tough times and how to interact and deal with people through those difficult times so that when you did land at some really good future opportunities, you were well seasoned and even better prepared to handle those, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and and the fact that the mentors give me the opportunity. I wanted to repay that, so I have several people that I've helped in the industry and come up through the world. So I mean, it's a kind of a payback thing, but I, you know, everybody said, "Man, you worked in the meat industry all life. What kind of career is that?" It couldn't have been better. I mean, I'm just so happy that I stayed in the industry and things worked out as they did.
Oh, it's great to hear that gratitude. Okay, so before I interrupted, you were starting to talk about the opportunity at the John Morrell Company.
Yeah, and I was a commercial pork manager there. I stayed there for about 2 years. I learned so much about yield and meat costs and stuff like that. A guy by the name of Doug Howell, uh, another one of my mentors, a brilliant man, and he took me under his wing, and him and I had many discussions, arguments on how to process a hog. And it sounds like it might be an easy thing, but it's complicated when you look at values and things like that. But anyway, I got a great deal of knowledge of that. But be quite honest, it was kind of boring. I wasn't in actual operations where I was running things. I was just doing meat cost tests and stuff like that, and it was a good job. Well, long story short, I had a gentleman from Des Moines, Iowa Packing Company, a guy by the name of Ed Ohilsky, um, come flying in. He uh, he had heard about me and through a mutual friend, and we met for dinner one night. And he was building a second plant. He had one plant, and right side by it, he was building retrofitting another plant. Plus, he's going to build an engine room for his refrigeration. And he had heard I had some experience in that. That's what I was saying earlier when I had the engineering courses, and I love the idea of building a plant and building an refrigeration room. And so anyway, I
You
accepted
got to
that.
kind of
What?
do it from scratch. Like you
Yep.
took all the things that you'd learned from all your different positions with these different companies along the way, and now I know the right way to do it. I can fix all these problems that we ran into before.
Right, and not only that, Ed Ohilsky himself was a very brilliant man as far as coming to that stuff. So I learned from him as well. So I went there as vice president of operations, and I and we got the second plant built. We run two plants. We got the compressor, and it was a boar and sow kill plant. So we only killed like 300 an hour, and it was not with the big boys, but it's just a small, unique little ditch that we had in the industry. And so I did that for nearly 10 years. And Ed Ohilsky become like my second dad, and we grew real tight. I just so so and there was a non-union. I was the safety guy there. I was just part of HR and a jack of all trades in a small company like that. And there, I really got to understand that uh, the employees were not employees; they're part of your family. And we really, Ed Ohilsky was great on immigrants. We'd bring them in. We'd set up housing. We would take care of them that way. He was Ed was obviously Polish, and a lot of Polish immigrants, and they are the best workers, guys, and they play hard and they work hard. And there's I can't tell you the number of times I went down, bailed some out of jail, and got some housing for them, and went and they always argued among themselves who worked harder, and so I'd have to be referee. So it was quite an experience. But Ed Ohilsky expects you to work 12, 14 hours a day. That was a typical day. So we worked 6, 7 days a week, worked hard, and but it was a satisfying time. And then in '93, I got a call from a headhunter that asked if I'd like to go up to Quality Pork with a guy by the name of Richard Knight and be a general manager there. And I'll tell you the quick story on it is that I told him, he said, no, I said, I'm happy where I'm at. I said, but someday I might want to go south. I've been from Minnesota. I don't want to go back north. And he said, okay. And so that was a Wednesday, and I went home that night, and my wife told me her grandma had passed, and she lived up in right next to Austin where QPP is at. And so the funeral was on that Friday. So I called the headhunter back the next day, and I said, I'd like to meet Dick Knight. I've heard about him in the industry, and I said I wouldn't mind meeting, have dinner with him. I says no guarantees. I said, but I'm going to be up there anyway. So we did, and Dick Knight and I sat and had dinner, and I bet you we sat for 2 hours, and just seemed like a nice fit. He has had terrible work comp problems, terrible safety issues. I mean, and when I to back up a little bit, up in Iowa Pork Industries and dealing in Minnesota, work comp was the son of a gun, and we were getting sued, and it was just, so I dealt with all that, and I got to learn a lot about work comp. So anyway, back to, I kind of missed running a high speed plant. I had my close buddies were captains in the industry, and they were, slaughtering 10, 12,000 hogs a day. And so, they'd say, well, you got a butcher shop you're running there. So, so a little bit of ego there I wanted, but I really, Dick Knight and I really hit it off well. And so, one of the hardest things I ever did in my life was turn my notice in to Ed O'Hilsky. And, so we both, he offered a blank check for me to stay and everything. And, I said, I'm going to take this opportunity. And that's another one of those lucky breaks in life that I come this close to not going, but because in fact we both sat down and had a little cry about it, and we moved on. And so I went up to Quality Pork Industries as a general manager.
And real quick, Kelly, the thing that really drew you to this new opportunity at QPP was just sort of the size and scale of what they were doing?
Exactly. It was to be a bigger player in the industry.
Yeah.
And, I had a nice little niche down in Des Moines, and we were going along just fine. But it was, I would go to the AMI in Chicago and meet all my friends. A lot of my friends that I'd come up with, they grew in the industry too. So they were vice presidents, and they were movers and shakers as well. So, one time I think I knew about every plant manager in the industry. So it was a small family. So yeah, I wanted to be a player in that, and that's one of the bigger reasons I went to Quality Pork Processors.
Okay, so you get there in 93?
93, correct.
And so what was it like?
It was my biggest thing was the work comp. We spent the year before, they spent nearly $1.5 million in work comp claims. The following year that I took over, we got it down to 400,000. So, and I did that two ways. And basically, number one is my famous slogan. It is still up on the wall to this day. If it's not safe, don't do it. And I told all my supervisors, anybody that gets reprimanded for refusing to do a job because it's unsafe, they're going to be in trouble, not the employee. But the supervisor, everybody got the message, and we really I'll just say one of my prouder accomplishments is our safety record at Quality Pork Processors. We took it seriously. Our people took it seriously, and we really, if somebody, and I'll just work comp, it can be a game. You got somebody that can come up with, I got a sore back, I got a sore arm, and so okay, we'll accommodate. You play a game, and you recognize it for what it is, and you just you work through it. But at the same time, you got somebody that cuts their finger off, or somebody that has a fall and hurts herself. you recognize that injury and you do everything you can to get him better, to give him time off or whatever he needs, because you know that employee needs help. You know, and like I say, you gotta recognize that, and and our employees got the message. It took a couple of years, but they got the message that, hey, if I'm going to play games, we're going to play games. If I got an issue, they're going to take care of me.
So I want to better understand, though, some of the, I don't know, the brass tacks of what you changed. I mean, to go from $1.5 million in work comp to $400,000 the next year, that's a significant reduction. You don't get there by just putting a slogan up on the wall. If it's not safe, don't do it. Like what were some more of the like practical things that had to change that you introduced?
Well, the couple three things. Now, the reason for that, the big turnaround was it was an easy target because what I went in there just settled a bunch of claims that were on the books and just settle them and pay it. And
Okay.
The Dick Knight was like, I'm not going to pay these guys one dime. Well, you ain't going to win that game. And so we went in, we settled, so we wiped out a lot of claims there, and then. And then, the biggest thing is we looked at what the cause of the accidents, what was going on, what we needed to do, and have everybody be part. We had a safety team that go around once a week, and they would put down issues of safety, and it's just like I say, it just evolved. But and the big thing too is I also uh, settled claims smartly. Mr. Knight, he's God rest his soul, wonderful man. But he would fight people. They would take him to court. He would somebody come in and say, "Oh, he's hurt," and if I ain't got any work for you, send him home. And he got in the biggest reason that it wasn't the safety record so much of the $1.5 million. It was the fact that the lawsuits, he was getting killed in them, and he wasn't handling them properly. And so I changed lawyers, and that's where that was at.
From your past experiences, you understood sort of the game that goes behind all of this, and you said, "Hey, listen, there's a different way to approach this. I know that we're going to end up, probably paying some folks that, they're sort of faking it, or maybe this isn't totally legit, but this is going to be a much more efficient path forward for everybody."
Right. Yeah. My second week in, I told Dick, bring me all the work comp files because he was handling it. I said, bring me and my desk was stacked up this high with these files. And so the turnaround is a little bit, I'm taking a lot of credit for something that really was just needed to be sorted out and then get them off the books. So.
But I know that safety is a huge priority for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Even continuing today. So talk more about that. It wasn't, yes, I understand sort of like administratively, there were just, you took a different approach to kind of cleaning these things up. But then talk more about how the safety component is such a big priority for you today, Kevin.
Well, the real key to it is culture. You have to establish a safety culture, and you have to have people have to believe that you really do care for their health and well-being, and and they're not. And then I'm just not trying to keep them safe, so I save money on work comp. I mean, and that's another thing is by HR people as we went on. I said, now we want to reduce our work comp costs. I said, but that is not what drives safety. I say we drive safety. Work comp costs will be is an offshoot of it. So I say our priority is to be safe and take care of people, and don't worry about the work comp costs. I said we've got a program in place. So, but people got to understand that we are going to take care of them, and people understand that we're going to provide work for them. The biggest thing I did was somebody had a bad arm. Instead of sending them home until their arm got better, I said, okay, we got one arm work for you. Just come on over here and we'll accommodate whatever hours you can. And, and that helped the person that wanted to work, and that helped them. But the person that wanted to go home realized, no sense in messing around with it. They're going to make me work anyway. I mean, so like I say, it's gamemanship in a way, but like I say, people got to recognize what you're doing and why you're doing it. And if you really, really, truly is for their safety and well-being. People will respond.
So, talk us through how you got from sort of those beginning days to ownership opportunities, VPP.
That's kind of a funny story too. But a year after I was there in '94, Ed O'Hilsky's son Danny, who was the vice president of sales, Danny and I worked together. I was anyway. He come up and said Ed wanted to sell part of the company to him and I would be president of the company. And he made that proposal, and and here again, it was one of the tougher things I did. A great opportunity to go back and own half of the company and da da da. And Mr. Knight, I told him I was talking to him, and he said, "What can I do to?" I said, "No, this is not a bidding war. This is something I got to decide what I want to do." And this is I've told the story 100 times to my kids and everybody, and I don't know if anybody believes it or not, but I play golf, and I went out and played 18 holes of golf and decided I've got to make a decision, because I promised Ed I would do that. And I got to the 18th hole, and I said, if I make par, I stay. If I bogey, I go to Des Moines. And I birdied the hole.
You put it on your golf shot. You put it on your golf shot.
Yep. So I stayed, and then I went in and I told Mr. Knight, Dick, I said, Dick, I said, I'm gonna stay here. I said, I like it here, and I said, we're just starting, and we were just, Dick gave me free reign. I mean, he really did. He just let me walk in, and I had made some management changes, and I had some others. I was just starting to build a team, and I really wanted to see it through. So I stayed, and then Dick turned to me. He said, he said, I'm going to start thinking about succession. He said, why don't we figure out how to set you up as a partner? And so about 6 months later, 95, I become a partner in the business, and we worked through some things. And in 97, Dick decided Dick lost a daughter and to cancer, and it really took the wind out of his sails, basically. And he said, he was a vice president with Swift. He had plenty of resources to retire on. He said, I chip chair and a chance. I gave him some things that we worked out through, and I took ownership of the company until 2009. So.
Okay. And what is maybe the thing you're most proud of that you put in place during that time?
Well, it's going to be the safety program and our safety culture there, and but the other thing, when I first come, we were struggling to kill 12,000 hogs a day, and I told the Hormel company, who we supplied material to, I said, I know you guys invest X dollars. I said, I'll guarantee you we'll go to 16, and I had he turned out to be one of my best friends, but he was a vice president over at Hormel. He said, okay. And he got that through, and we made our number to 16 and run as smooth as heck. And a few years later, I said, let's, you do this and we'll go to 20,000. And we did. And we're capable of killing 22,000 right now. The market share, they want us, the sales department feels comfortable at 19.6, and that's what we've processed a day. So, but we could kill 20,000 easily, and 22 is a stretch, but it can be done. So,
okay, so I'm an outsider to the industry. I love pork products. I have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. Kind of walk us through it. You guys are buying hogs from farms that are raising them. They come to you live, and the slaughter and everything, all the processing takes place there at your location.
That's correct. We actually, Hormel they buy the hogs and they deliver it to the livestock, and at that point we take possession of them and we process the hogs through the slaughter floor, and they then go into a cooler where they're chilled overnight down to 40 degrees. And then the next day, they are cut into primal cuts, loins, bellies, ribs, all various parts of the hog. And what we'll do there, if it's fresh pork, we will put it in a Hormel box and ship it to their dock, and they'll take it right to the customer. If it's processed, like they got to take a belly and smoke it for bacon, they do sausage, do Spam, those type things. We'll ship the raw material across the wall to them and to their plant, and then they'll take it on for further processing.
Across the wall, so they're right next door.
They're right next door
to your plant.
Yep.
Okay.
See, I don't know if you want the quick history on that. Is Hormel built this beautiful slaughter floor, processing floor in 1985. 2 years later, they went on a major strike, and it's well chronicled in history. But anyway, they settled the strike finally. They got and they decided not to open up their slaughter floor again. They shut it down, and just the processing side. Well, Dick Knight, another fellow with Hormel, knew Dick Knight very well, and they got together and decided to lease the facility to him, and he could put together a labor crew and a team, and they would run it and sell the material back to Hormel. So that's how that come into being.
Okay. Talk to me about Spam. I see you've got the hat on. We were joking a little bit before we went live that that word means something different to some folks, especially younger folks who think it's junk mail. But tell us about the Spam product.
Well, it's actually it's a shoulder ham is what the raw material that goes into it was. Now they've taken other trimmings in it, but they're all lean cuts. They're all quality cuts. You know, people think, oh, it's all the offalt or head meat and all that stuff that they throw into it. Oh no, not it's quality cut meat. It's a very I mean, their reputation is on Spam, and they go to great lengths to keep the quality levels. I mean, we have to deliver the meat at a certain temperature. We have to deliver it at certain lean requirements. I mean, there's several quality issues that we have to meet in order for them to accept the problem or accept the product. If it's not at that quality level, they'll reject it and they'll claim us for it. So, so they're very strict on that. They're strict. They have good quality requirements for all their product. I believe me. I'm not saying this for self-satisfying, but it's Hormel Company is probably one of the top quality companies in the meat industry that there is. And you can ask many people in the industry that, and I think they'll echo the same. But Spam is it's their top deal. They know that their reputation would live and die on Spam.
It's a good quality product or good quality meats that go into it. It's shelf stable, which I think is probably a big part of the appeal, especially in some of the locations where it's popular.
Right. It's, in Guam is the highest per capita
Consumption
of Spam. Hawaii is right behind it. Philippines, all that whole Asian area is big on Spam. And in England, we have our Spam Museum in Austin, Minnesota, has a letter from Dwight Eisenhower thanking Hormel for helping send Spam over to England. It helped people survive through the blackouts and everything.
Oh, that's cool. You talked about how Hormel probably has the highest quality standards in the industry, which obviously being a major supplier for them, you guys have to make sure that your quality standards match or exceed theirs. Talk to me more about the importance of quality there at QPP.
Yeah, and that's another thing that was, as I said when I first come, we were struggling to make 12,000 hogs a day. We were also struggling to maintain a reputation in the community and with Hormel as far as, if there's something went wrong, it was QPP's fault, and we weren't doing the quality standards. And one of the first things I did was replace the QC manager when I come aboard, and then we made some some changes. When I first come there, it was Hormel's quality people and our quality people, and it was like this, and it was never good enough, and they were too tough. I mean, this is, and and that took not months but years to try to get that coordinate, because the Austin guy if he weren't making his yield in his plant, it was because the quality the raw material was not satisfactory. So we had to fight that a little bit, and so what we did is just do good record keeping. We did good quality checks, and if we had a conflict with our customers for over the quality, we showed them what we demonstrated our QC checks. We demonstrated what their checks were. So I mean, it's hard to explain the whole process, but the Hormel having high quality standards forced us to do the same, and forced us to try to figure out how we can deliver that on a consistent basis.
How you can be good partners with each other.
Exactly.
And improve that communication so that they understand that, hey, here are the things that we've been doing. And did we miss anything? No? Okay, then, let's revisit the process. And so you can kind of work collaboratively in that way.
Yeah. So it is a battle. And, and I want to segue into another little part that I'd like to mention is when we come there, and this one, like I said, I put together a good management team, but the Austin community, we had a lot of immigrants, a lot of Hispanics and everything, and if there was something wrong in town, well, it was the QPP people, and that was their mindset there. And so we had to change that, we have. I mean, our plant were the largest giver to United Way, our employees. We beat the Hormel plant, and we set up daycare centers, and so we did a lot of stuff that the community started to realize, hey, this is a good company. They have good people, and that was a turnaround. So, but that took some years too. So
the daycare centers that you set up, was that specifically for employees, or was that for the community at large?
No, for employees.
Okay. And I know that there was another initiative that you're really proud of, where you offer free primary care on site to your employees. Is that right? Tell me more about that.
We were the first in the industry to do that. It made a lot of sense, and I'm pretty proud of that too. We were leaders in that, and it's worked out well and continues to work out well. And our people get some. The benefit by it is our employees get good care, and they come to work, and they're appreciative of it. And so,
is that just for the employees? Does it extend to the families too at all? Families too. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when did you initiate that?
Oh boy,
it's been a while, huh?
Been a while. I'm gonna guess 2015. I really lost track. Okay. So
yeah, that's great. Kelly, I know that you place a strong emphasis on both operational improvements, and it kind of goes hand in hand with automation. Can you maybe talk through a specific innovation that you introduced and how it impacted daily operations?
Well, I really, I think some of the things I can tell you the biggest thing that we did, the biggest influence we've had on industry from automation or from a efficiency standpoint is they had a hemp program that come out. The government did, and a hemp program is where you kind of do a traditional slaughter floor has, I think, 2, 4, 5, I think 6 USDA inspectors online. And what we did is streamline. They offered us to to be a pilot, to be streamlined their inspection process, where we trained our own people to go online with like 1 or 2 inspectors oversight. And from that, we were able to take our line speed up from 1,100 an hour to 1,325 an hour. And I was a lot of the industry stayed away. They didn't want to take any chance on it because, hey, if something gets through and our inspectors don't catch it and it gets to the consumer, then they're going to blame us and that we're trying to get by government inspection and that type of scenario. But we put our own people in. We did it. I hired 2 veterinarians, did extensive training, and they do a better job than the government did it, quite honestly. But anyway, it allowed us to ramp up our speeds. We got the program through, and that's 2000. It started in the year 2000 is when we first, and we were the first plant to do it. I made several trips to Washington, and a lot of the criteria that is in the program right now is what we put in, and it's and right now it's under scrutiny. About 2 years ago, the union said, "Hey, they can't go that high speeds. It's da da da," and so the USDA stepped in, and now they're doing a big study. We're leading that study. We had them in, and they had a team from California come in and look at the ergonomic side of it, and so that's an ongoing thing right now. So they haven't the hemp program has not been through the final rule stage yet. For 25 years, it's been going on, but that's a government program. So, but
Why is it called hemp?
I knew you'd say that, and I meant to write.
It's an acronym.
It's an acronym.
It doesn't have to do with the
hazardous. It's you look it up, it'll tell you, but it's an acronym. Yes.
Okay. And then I believe it was 2009, Kelly, that you transitioned into a different kind of role with QPP.
Well, not really. I took on some 3 other partners, and my vice president of finance. Him and I, we're still best of friends, and I just wanted to have him have part of the action, and then our plant manager, and then our QC kid that I brought along that was the right age to be poised to take that at some point. So I brought him on board. Here again, it was just I wanted them to stay as long as I stay, and I wanted to encourage them, and it was a team building thing, and so I brought him in as partner, and it was a great move, and it worked out well.
And so at what point did you kind of transition from being day-to-day president to now your role as senior advisor?
Well, I stepped down as president, I think in 19, I think it was, but I was still chairman. I don't know. We give ourselves titles, but I was still the boss. But I stepped down as president, and I still I cut back a little bit on work, but I was still pretty full time, and right up to this last July, and I decided I had a good discussion with the president then, and I said, I'm going to be around if we have issues and stuff. I'll be around to help problem solve and things like that. I said, but I just don't feel right to sit back and be the owner and not have any input. So I said, well, let's and I should back up a little bit. The president, he actually was saying, I'd sure like to be the owner someday. He said, is it going to happen? He was getting a little impatient, but anyway, I thought it was a good time. And so this last July, I stepped back from that, and we're still transitioning how my role in it and how it's all going to work. We have some bargaining union contracts come. I'm a pretty good bargainer, so I'll probably be involved with that. And I don't know. We'll see how it works.
Okay. What do you think the future looks like for QPP?
I think it's very good. I mean, Hormel has, they used to have a slaughter plant in Fremont that they no longer have. They oh God, I'm not going to think of the name now. But the other company that bought it, they had a contract with Hormel to supply raw material. Well, that's not going very well. Uh, it, I don't know how it's going. I should, but anyway, we're getting the bulk of the raw material to supply. So we're the biggest source that Hormel has got for raw material for pork. So I think that's going to be a forever thing because Hormel is a very large company and they need pork products are one of their main roles. So I think from that standpoint, and I think our management team is strong. I hope the president continues to you got to look at succession and all that. But in our labor force, we have a great labor force. We have our management team. Very little. The only turnover we have, it really is retirement. So I mean, we have a strong management team, and we're a very well respected in the community now. Everything is good. I don't have any, or you got to deal with the unions and the government, and we have a good relationship with both. So
It sounds like you guys are able to process just a tremendous amount of pork there. Has there ever been any consideration to either expand the current facility footprint or to look at opening up another facility, an additional one?
well, actually, we have,
Okay.
and back in 2005, we have another plant in Elberley, Minnesota, it's 20 miles away. That I talked Hormel into. They wanted to expand, and anyway, I won't go into the long story there, but we got some government programs. We built a plant there, and there we do custom packaging. We do boning. We make special cuts, and we employ about 500 people there.
Okay.
So, and now Nate, the president, not the new, but the president, um, we just had a discussion, and quite honestly, I kind of, oh, 2015, I kind of turned that over to Nate and said, okay, you run this part of the business. I wanted to see, kind of look how he rolled. So I didn't pay a lot of attention to Select Foods. I went over there quite often, but anyway, long story short is that Nate tells me now their capacity is they're pushing they want to build on, or he really wants a new location or another location. So he's discussing that with Hormel. So wherever that goes, he'll take that. I'm not. That's not my bailiwick.
Fun stuff. Kelly, I'd like to hear about a serious challenge that you've experienced in life, either personal, professional, maybe a combination of the two. How you got through that and some lessons that you learned going through.
Well, I got it. It I got a great one. 2009. Our nursing staff, we had employees come up to the nurses' office, and that's another thing about our safety program. Our nurses were there for the employees. They didn't. I mean, they took care of the employees. So anyway, our employees were coming up and they're complaining about their leg pain, being heavy in the legs, and and these symptoms they seem to be running through the plant, or several people were coming up, and the nurse said, "There's something going on here, and come to me." And I said, "Well," I says, "We called our local clinic and a doctor that I respect, Dr. Johnson, and kind of explained things to him, and he really didn't have any good answers, and so he suggested we call the Department of Health, and so." And everybody, oh God, we can't bring in Department of Health, and they're gonna, And I said, yeah, we are. And so we did. We brought in Department of Health, and they they come in with a team. They went through everything. We couldn't figure out what was going on, and so um, we. I'm trying to think of the sequence of events, but anyway, we they wanted to take everybody's blood test and test their blood and do all that, and then there was one particular area, the head bench area, was where it seemed that most of the bulk of the employees were coming from that had these symptoms. And So before we brought the Department of Health in, I said, well, we're going to have employee meetings, and we're going to meet with every employee in the plant, tell them what's going on. So we did. Every lunch break in every department, I got up and said, hey, there's something going on. We don't know what, but the health department's coming in, and they're going to do some research. We're going to find out what it is, and we're going to keep you people informed. And we did that, and then the health department come in as they're doing blood checks, and then so then I got up and I said, well, seems like the area is a head bench is the most problem. So we still don't know what the cause is, but we're researching it, and we're going to come up with what's going on. And but anybody in the head bench, if you don't want to work there, we'll find some place for you. And and this was at the peak when we had people there, and I turned to my people or my managers. I said, I'll be surprised if anybody shows up for work tomorrow. I said, why in the hell would somebody come in when there's some mysterious disease going on, and why would they work here? And I said, we got to be as honest as we can. And I said, if this turns out to be some our fault or something, we got to say, hey, this is what we did. And but my proudest time the next day, there was not one person that didn't come to work on that head bench, not one. And I was pretty proud. So to take the story on, they come up with a fact. This is going to be hard to hear, but we blew brains. We saved brains. And in order to save brains, you put an air hose up the cavity back of the head of the hog and blew it, and the brain matter would come out. And brains and eggs are to eat that in the South. So, but anyway, they really believe this. It's called progressive inflammatory neuropathy syndrome. PINS was the name. The doctor from Rochester. This is a funny side note. The doctor from Rochester lost something, and his Department of Health were fighting over who gets to name the disease. And it's written up in the New England Journal of Medicine. But anyway, they said they think that aerosol brain matter is what's causing it. It gets into the nervous system and da da da. And I said, okay. I said that's the last time we ever blew brains in quality pork, and will be never happen again. So we shut that down. Things seemed to resolve themselves. I mean, it took months.
So symptoms went away for people?
Symptoms went away. We had one person that had impacted their kidneys and had some continuing side effects, but most other people recovered. Some just, here again, we went to work comp. We did settlements. We give them a fair settlement, and they moved on. And some people stayed with us, and we worked through it. And but the fact that we had over 1,000 people having blood checks, telling we got a mysterious disease going on, and nobody quit. And I think that's what because we're all family, and we treated them. We told them right up front, right away what was going on. We didn't try to hide anything. There wasn't, nothing that could bubble up that say, oh God, they didn't tell you this. So we told them everything. And, that's how you do it, is hit it head on.
I was going to say, you can't control when a crisis is going to hit, right? There's so many variables, so many unknowns, but once it's there, once you've got a situation, how you respond to it speaks volumes to everybody around you about your character, your employees, your managers, your suppliers, your customers. Everybody hears about how this played out. And I mean, there's some people who probably would have kind of stuck their head in the sand. Said, shh, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody until we know what this is. We can get our arms around it. We can control the narrative. You were like, no. We got to be honest with people. We don't know what this is yet, but we have to tell them what we know so that they can make their own choices as we're working through this. And I think that's tremendous.
Yeah. I was on CNN.
Is that right?
Yeah. a great story of that. Just the nurse that actually, her and her nurses, Carol Bauer and her nurses, they're the ones that brought it to our attention. And so the nurse, the CNN come to town and wanted to interview me, and Carol was sitting right beside me, and they were asking questions. They were asking me about, hey, your employees and this and that, and they'd ask her some medical questions. Well, when we got when we watched CNN, just showed me, and the nurse was the real hero of the story, I felt. So, but
they can edit the way they want, huh?
mm-hmm.
So you're not retired, Kelly. You're still around. You're still working through the transition. But as that transition sort of progresses and you back away increasingly from the day to day, how do you want to spend your free time?
Well, travel. I love to travel. And I'm currently in Florida, so I spend the winters in Florida here. I used to fly back at least a week or two every month, but I don't anymore now. I stay down here. I'll get on some Zoom calls and stuff like that. But basically, I'm transitioning down here. I love to play golf. I play pickleball, but I want to travel. I travel a fair amount, but I do want to do that. And I got some buddies that asked me about maybe working with them a little bit in the industry. I've shied away from it because I owe allegiance to Hormel and stuff. I don't want to, get into any company secrets or anything like that. So I probably will stay away from doing that. I've had some opportunities to do that, but I'm 72 years old, so why not just sit back and travel and play golf and have a good time? So,
what's top of the bucket list? What's the place that you're most excited to travel to?
Well, I want to go to Vietnam for one, and I want to go to Australia, and I want. So
okay, there we go. There's a list. There's some good targets to hit. Well, Kelly, I've just got one more question for you, but before I ask it, I want to do two things. First of all, for everybody listening today, I know that you love today's content because Kelly has been a great guest. So please hit the like, share, or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Kelly, I also want to let people know the best way to get in touch with you. What would that be?
Oh, my email, I guess. So it's Wadding at qualityporkprocessors.net.
There you go. So last question I have for you, Kelly, is, you've got, such a rich history in this industry. You've seen a lot of things. You've seen the progression of how this industry has evolved. You've been at the forefront of a lot of the changes that have taken place. What do you see maybe are some of the big changes that are still coming in the next couple of years?
Well, I think it's the big companies, and you have Smithfield now that's they're owned by the Chinese now. Chinese are going to go public with them, and whether they expand or not, Tyson has had some real issues, and really the direction of these of the JBSs and the Tysons and the Smithfields of where they take the industry is going to be interesting. I'm not sure. That the automation, the industry is catching up with automation. It's been behind for years, but it's catching up now. So automation is going to allow. It's going to change the whole complex of what the processing, how you process a hog. Period. So so it's pretty interesting. I just don't know if that's going to consolidate the plants, if they're going to go specialize it in specialty plants, or how it's going to go. But there's going to be a lot of changes coming, and the big guys are going to dictate that.
The big companies, they have the resources. They're going to kind of set the pace for what's happening with some of the new robotic automations that, you said the industry's kind of lagged in, but now it's starting to catch up.
Right. And there's some real room for some automation in, like I say, I feel the industry's been slow to go to that. And now that it's coming to them, I think you're going to see they jump in there with both feet.
And probably going to help a great deal with safety, I would guess, too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, as I say, I think we were leaders a long time ago when it comes to safety and doing a safety culture and stuff. But the industry's got it; they understand that, and I don't think we're unique anymore in our safety culture and what we do and what we practice. I think, and you know, I'll be a little jaded and say the industry understands that if you're not safe, it costs you money too. But
Well, hey, if you can do the right thing and have it help the bottom line at the same time, then it just kind of
it's
helps move things along even faster.
it's a win-win. So,
Yeah.
yep,
Well,
absolutely.
Kelly, I want to be the first one to thank you for sharing both your time and your story with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking.
Folks, that's a wrap on another episode of the Inspired Stories podcast. Thanks for learning with us today.